Okay guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Maxxair fan that we now have installed on our van. We actually did this install quite a few months back, but I have all the footage from that and I would like to still put it together for a video, so hopefully it will help you out with your installs, and I'll tell you some of the things that I did that you should not do. Okay, so let's get started. First thing you're going to need is some Dicker lap sealant. This is a self-leveling product. You don't have to use this, but any sort of sealant will do just fine. You'll also need a razor blade, some masking tape, a measuring tape. Then you're going to need some butyl tape. This butyl tape is really important. It's going to help you seal between the metal and your actual fan shroud itself. Moving on, you're going to need some sort of cutting tool. I prefer a jigsaw. I think that's exactly what you should use in this case. Do not try to use like a hacksaw or something crazy. Then you're going to need some jigsaw blades. Try to get a fine blade. That way you limit the amount of vibrations that you're putting on your paint there, and it'll cut pretty smooth. You're also going to need a drill bit. I don't have the exact sizes on me, but you're going to need a smaller drill bit, and then you're going to need to step up to a bigger drill bit, and that's so you can get your jigsaw blade down in there so you can make your cuts. And then finally, you're going to need your Maxxair fan. So one of the other things I didn't mention was the wood. You're going to need a 1x1 piece of wood. That's what I used. I didn't frame my fan as well as I probably should have, but I was in a hurry to do this and more so just excited, and I should have had a little bit more patience when it came to building the frame. But luckily it is done totally fine and I haven't had any problems since. So right here, what you want to do is roughly mask where that fan's going to be. I cut out a 1x1 foot section. I used a cardboard piece to actually give me a rough estimate of what that was going to look like. Then I placed down the fan so I could get it more exact, dialed in my tape a little bit better, and to be honest, I kind of went on the tighter side, and I figured I could shave off a little bit if I had to. I just didn't want to cut too big of a hole. And you'll see right here, this will be very helpful in your cleanup. If you want to take a big garbage bag and go ahead and tape that up underneath the van so that'll catch all your shavings, so you don't have to worry about any of those getting on the ground, you accidentally running over those with your feet. You want to start with a smaller drill bit and drill you a corner hole, and then right after that you're going to step up to a bigger hole. And then also another little tip that I found out I saw online is if you take a magnet, like an earth magnet or any sort of magnet you have around really will be fine, and you put it at the end of a sock, you can run that around to catch your metal shavings, and it'll all bunch up, and then you can just pull the magnet out of the sock and it'll drop all your shavings into the trash can. So make sure when you're putting your blade on, I've had one of these fly out before because I didn't latch it properly, so make sure you give it a little nice tug, make sure it's properly attached. And then go to town, cutting into your super expensive van. Don't do it quite as fast as this video is showing. I have it sped up for time-saving purposes, but you get the idea. Another little tip is if you attach a magnet to this center section, when you go to make your last cut, it'll allow you to catch that so it doesn't drop your bag down to the ground, so you can pull that out nice and safe, and you don't have a big mess. Now you have a giant hole in your van. So from here, I went trimming some pieces, taking the plastic, fitting it down in there, filing down the edges, kind of see what we were looking at, make sure it's not super sharp. But there was a few cuts that I still had to make sure that it didn't fit in there too tight, because you don't want the plastic being torqued when it gets older and it's becomes more prone to breaking. You don't want a lot of tension on it. And then after about 30 extra minutes of fine shaving, making sure we don't overdo it, our plastic piece perfectly fit down in there. Moving on to that, we took our drill bit and we started drilling our little holes for here. Honestly, you'd probably be better off marking the holes before drilling through like I did. Also, make sure you're wearing gloves if you're going to be holding the metal like I did. After that, you want to make sure that you don't have any rust spots, so get you some Rust-Oleum paint. Spray paint to be fine. I used an oil base because that's what I had around. Paint all your corners, anywhere you were cutting. Do not forget your holes either. While Paige was doing that, I was taking my butyl tape and, in a non-pretty way, just slapping that sucker all over the place. So it doesn't have to be laid on too thick. Some people recommend 2 coatings, but I did 1 coating and it did just fine. I just make sure I didn't have any spots that, the water could potentially slip by the butyl tape. It tends to stick together pretty well. It's almost like a putty. You can mold it and move it pretty easily. Also, when pulling the things off, if you get a nice little tug pretty quickly, you'll be fine. If not, you'll end up ripping it and getting just like that. So after that, you slap your thing down on there and you go about putting all your screws in. It's pretty self-explanatory. I didn't show it right here, but you're going to want to have someone brace the wood pieces underneath so that way it goes straight down into the wood. Then you're going to take your decor lap sealant, or decker, whatever, and you're going to start placing a nice bead trim all the way around. To be totally honest, this is the amount I put on. It kind of self-levels, so it fills up any of the gaps. It did well. You just want to make sure you cover the screw holes as well, because you don't want those rusting, because they will rust over time. But it's been a few months now, and I've noticed that I probably want to go in there and go ahead and add another level of sealant over the top of what I'd already did. So when you get done with that, go ahead and try to grab your fan, because you're getting super excited, and plop it down in there and realize that this sucker is pretty heavy and it's kind of a pain to get down in there. But once you do, the hardest part is getting these last screws in. Some people may not have a problem, but I could not seem to get those perfectly level. So what me and Paige ended up doing is I had to go to the bottom side of the van and actually bring the fan down about halfway is what I found, and then I pulled tension from the inside of the fan shroud down, and that allowed the holes to line up, and Paige was able to get those screws in from the top. So we just took our time with it, take some patience. I was getting kind of aggravated. It was pretty late at night here. Don't be pushing down super hard on your fan shroud. It is plastic. It will break. So these things are pretty sturdy, but they're not that sturdy. And then wait you about 12 to 24 hours for your lap sealant to perfectly seal and harden. Don't be getting it into some pouring rain right after you slap it on. But once you do that, you are good to go. Make sure it turns on, plug your wires in, and now you have a working fan. Ta-da. So just in case anyone gets curious and asks in the comments, I'll go ahead and mention it here. There are a few different fan options, and I may do a video later on why we ended up choosing the Max fan over a bunch of other fans. But just to sum up, one very important piece is the Maxxair fan does have a built-in rain guard. So you don't have to worry about a big fan shroud that sticks up all the time or not having one. This one raises up and down with it, and to me that was worth any price point difference, and honestly it was about the same price between this one and a few of the other models. But yeah, if you have any more questions, leave them down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, or if there's anything you think I didn't go over well, please put them in the comments. If anyone sees this video, it'll just help them out. But if you like the video, please leave a like, subscribe if you want to keep seeing some more content. I'm probably going to post an update video next week, and then the next one will be about the boat hatch. So stick around if you want to see how we put a boat hatch in that was not meant for a van, but that turned out absolutely perfect. Thanks guys, have a good one.